Awesome. All right. Well, hello again. Hello to everyone and welcome. My name is Tammy Thornton. I am the president of Wilton Go Green. I am also the chair of our Zero Waste Schools Coalition. For those of you that are new and haven't been with us before, Wilton Go Green is a 501c3 nonprofit in Wilton, Connecticut, with a focus on energy efficiency and waste reduction. And our mission has been to engage, educate, and inspire green living. And in 2018, we formed our Zero Waste Schools Coalition, really to create a platform for schools in Connecticut and beyond to connect, learn, and share ways to introduce really waste reduction programs in their schools. In the quickest elevator speech, I call us a support group. So if you are interested in joining us, we try to meet once a year. I send out emails and try to communicate through our Facebook group. The QR code is there on the screen. I'm really excited today to bring our two speakers here. It's a conversation that many of us have had, like Groundhog Day, about reusables in our schools. And for some of us, like myself and Wilton, just trying to find the funding to get a dishwasher installed in our schools. But it's still always great to hear about new programs, new organizations, and new partnerships. So I hope you can take some information from our conversation today and share it with your constituents as you move around this process of adding reusables to our schools. So two quick introductions, and then I'll let everybody get started. Dr. Manasa Mantravadi is the founder and CEO of Ahimsa. She's a board certified pediatrician who practices in Indiana as a in Indiana. She most recently launched the world's first colorful stainless steel dishes for kids and also the cafeteria line, Ahimsa. After the American Academy of Pediatrics highlighted the growing evidence of chemicals in plastics harming children's health. The company's been featured in Parents Magazine and was the recipient of the Good Housekeeping Parenting Award in 2021. She's now on the Council for Environmental Health and Climate Change, as well as the Council for School Health at the American Academy of Pediatricians. Troy Vanscourt is also with us. He's the National Accounts Manager for Auto-Chlor. Very exciting conversation I've had with Troy. Auto-Chlor System is a family-owned and operated company and has become a national leader in the production, installation, and service of energy-saving dishwashers. So excited for everyone to hear from both of them. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let you get started. And yep, let's just unmute.
Hello, everyone. And Tammy, thank you so much for having us here and also the hard work that you're doing. I think Rachel and Rachel is here from Ahimsa as well. And it's just, these are my favorite conversations with people who are doing the good work already and advocating for kids. So thank you for all that you're doing, Tammy, and bringing everyone together like this. It's so important. Hello, everyone. My name is Manasa, like Monica, but not Mantravadi. And I'm going to give a little background into why I kind of upturned my life to start a company by accident. And it has all to do with children's health. So let me just start sharing my screen here. Gosh, I hope you don't see all my windows. You see some of my windows. Okay. Let me share and present. Okay, can everyone see that? Okay.
It's a white screen right now.
Oh, that's weird. Oh, because it went to whiteboard. That's weird. Okay, hold on. Do we see it now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Just go. Yeah, there you go. To present
I don't
mode.
know if I can whiteboard this entire presentation. So we're going to go with what's prepared. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, now you can see it. Okay, excellent. Okay, so really what we're talking about here today, I have a company called Ahimsa, and we produce stainless steel foodware for kids, really with thinking through the food system as a whole as medicine. Part of my job as a pediatrician is to treat children when they're ill. The other more important part, in my opinion, is to keep them healthy in the first place. So there we go. I always joke, I look a lot more put together for this picture than I normally do. But the story behind ahimsa. So the word ahimsa is a Sanskrit word meaning avoiding harm. I'm an Indian immigrant. I, grew up in India, first 3 years of my life, came here, learned English from Sesame Street, and ate off of steel growing up. And so became a pediatrician. And in 2018, the American Academy of Pediatrics actually came out with a formal policy statement talking about the harmful effects of the chemicals in plastic on children's growing brains and bodies. And they recommended formally to avoid using plastic and rather use glass or stainless steel. So my pediatrician mom friends, or everybody was texting and saying, what are you going to do with all your dishware? And I had an aha moment on, I grew up with steel in India, and realized that there was no real solutions for the American parent and now American schools. Everything seemed to be plastic. So there was science and evidence over here and no real solutions for parents and schools to go to, which I thought was kind of crazy. So like I said, I accidentally started a business. I really just felt compelled to create a solution. And it's a real problem. So when you look at the human health portion of it, I'll kind of talk about how it affects children's health, but this is not just a one-off little case study. These are real policy recommendations from global medical organizations. So in 2018, the American Academy of Pediatrics formally recommended to avoid using plastic. In 2020, the Endocrine Society, the largest global society when it comes to hormones, also really talked about hormone disruptions and the global threat to human health. The World Health Organization, American College of Obstetrics, I mean, you name it, and scientists and physicians are coming out really raising the red flag here. And of course, we know it's bad for the planet. We've known that for some time. And so really change is coming. There's no skirting this. Like, it's happening. It's happening at a global level, at a national level, at a state level, at a city level, I hope. And so really going with materials that are sustainable and better for human health is where the world is going, because it needs to. And so again, there's a global treaty from the United Nations, which is the biggest treaty since the Paris Climate Agreement on plastic reduction. So this is kind of rolled up at the global level, and what we want to do is kind of roll it back down to the community level in schools. So why does this matter? And why do I care as a pediatrician? Well, because I see the actual outcomes of this. So in the most simple form, when we think about hormones in our body, we typically think about adults, and we think maybe about fertility and like some other things that are more adult-like, but actually children very, very much rely on the hormone system for their brains and bodies to develop, because they're actually not born with fully developed organs, believe it or not. And it's this hormone system that really helps regulate it. And what happens is you need these hormones to go in and do things like thyroid hormone helps the brain to grow. Estrogen helps the normal development of puberty at the right time and future fertility. Other hormones will help our bodies regulate sugar or glucose. And so all of these things matter for a child to grow and develop normally. These chemicals, so I kind of joke, like, look at those horns. It looks scary, but it's the normal hormones kind of go in. It's kind of lock and key, and it does what it's normally supposed to do. These chemicals in plastic kind of mimic those hormones, so they look like them. So you might have heard things called endocrine disrupting chemicals or endocrine disruptors. So this is truly what it does: is it disrupts the normal hormone system. It's because it looks like that key, and then it just wreaks havoc. And what we see in children, kind of in growing epidemics, is problems with growth, immunity, brain development, heart health, very premature puberty. We're seeing kids as early as 6 now undergoing puberty, and future fertility. So these are real issues, and you can actually see it. So it's not just, I think the difference here is, when we saw lead was associated with issues with children's cognitive brain development. We took it out. And when we took it out, we had children. Now we have a generation of children who are 8 IQ points above the children who had lead in all their products. So these are real kind of epidemics and population kind of trends. So if you look here, here are the 1960s, and when we see childhood obesity, it's really very minimal. And you see this explosion, especially in children who are school age. And right around the 1970s and 1960s is the advent of plastic and fast food and processed food. It's also around the time that the National School Lunch Program really scaled and started using processed food, single-use material, and you see the associated health trends. So these are real trends that we as pediatricians see and treat every day. And quite frankly, I'm just sick of continuing to treat disease. We must go upstream and stop it in the first place. These children go to school, they, eat and drink more per pound of body weight. So like when they breathe in, they breathe more environmental toxins. When they eat more environmental toxins than their adult counterparts because their bodies are so little and their brains and bodies are still developing. So it's up to us to really make better choices on the behalf of the masses of children to prevent these kind of outcomes. So the American Academy of Pediatrics, came out with this formal statement. We're happy to share the actual link so you can see for yourself. And what it really, really tells us is that we need better health policy. We need better regulations. We need better oversight. However, that takes time. And so it's up to people like us here in the room to make better decisions in the meantime before it's mandated and you must do it, because that will happen. It's because we should do it because it's the right thing to do for kids. And so we have we actually call it the Conscious Cafeteria Program. We don't call it just steel materials. Whoops. Because it's very important that, yes, we replace stainless steel in your cafeterias, but we also want to teach children about reuse. And hey, you don't just use something for 15 minutes in your school cafeteria and throw it away, because what we're teaching them is that behavior. And they're inheriting this planet. So this is really a program. We have recycled steel. We have certifications. We're a female minority-owned business. So in terms of supplier diversity and kind of checking lots of boxes, we check them for you, which can be helpful in your discussions with schools, or if you are a school, some choices that you can make that also check some boxes that your entities are probably seeking as well. And when we think through this, there's 3 main things we think about at Ahimsa and our Conscious Cafeteria program. We think about health costs, environmental costs, and just bottom line for schools. So health costs, of course, it's always cheaper to prevent disease than to always be treating obesity and type 2 diabetes in children, which, by the way, when I was in medical school, which was not that long ago, I mean, it was more than a decade, more than 2 decades, but childhood or type 2 diabetes was an adult onset diabetes, and type 1 diabetes was for kids. And now we routinely see children with type 2 diabetes and morbid obesity. And so genetics didn't change in a generation. There's something environmental going on that we clearly know is linked. And then in terms of economic costs, even when you factor in, and we have business case reports that we can show, the cost of a dishwasher installation, the cost of food service staff to man those dishwashers, and the cost of reusables, schools still save money, and often within the first few years. And then they can have the extra $20,000 for the arts program, and a music program, and other things, instead of constantly having to do disposables. And then, of course, not unexpected, but environmental costs. So in general, your carbon reduction will be greatly reduced, and the amount of waste we're generating in the landfills are also greatly reduced. So this is our, we're actually working under, we have a separate program called the Conscious Cafeteria Program that was selected for the Clinton Global Initiative. So I had the pleasure of meeting the former president, and they loved what we were doing in terms of scaling a very simple solution that prevents a lot of harm. And so we do stainless steel dishes for kids. But what we actually do is we transform communities by teaching them about reuse in a really positive, engaging way. And we have a lot of buy-in from not just key people like you guys who already know going green is a better option, but when we are able to have more programs and educational curriculum that teaches children about reuse, now suddenly you are getting buy-in from the food service staff and the teachers and the students, and it really feels like this big change. We've done 11 states and 70 schools so far, which is exciting. And we're really just getting started. We can send this deck out later, but we do have, we were featured on Good Morning America and the Today Show. But these two clips are kind of, a really nice, easy way to understand what it is we do and why we do it and our mission. So we'll share this out after, but it's got a lot of really good facts in there. And what else? That's really it. So we hope that together we can really decrease the carbon impact, the waste impact, even water impact, but most importantly, health impact for these kids, and saves money for school so they can use it for something else. So I'm happy to take any questions or concerns.
Thank you so much. And so we'll do questions at the end.
Okay.
I do want to let Troy speak about Auto-Chlor and as your one of your partners and how that partnership has worked out and the anyway, it's got a great elevator speech, even longer. It's perfect. So you're good. You have plenty of time. So Troy, take it away.
Well, thank you all. First and foremost, I appreciate the opportunity to share more about Auto-Chlor system. As mentioned, Tammy had mentioned that we are a family-owned and operated dishwashing machine and cleaning solutions manufacturer, as well as a service provider. And so we've aligned and partnered with Ahimsa to bring essentially a safer solution to schools across the nation. We began back in 1938 with the automatic chlorination system for a 3-compartment sink, which hence is how we ended up with the name Auto-Chlor system. So over 85 years of experience in the what we call warewashing. It's just a fancy term for dishwashing business. We actually pioneered the NSF food equipment standards. So that's the food safety standards for restaurants, hospitality, schools, education facilities across the nation. And then currently we are comprised of about 150 service locations across the United States, servicing over 100,000. It's actually over 150,000 customers nationally at this point, all via a locally operated route service system. And I'll touch more on that a bit later. Essentially, Auto-Chlor system, we are the leader in innovation when it comes to dish machines. We manufacture low energy dish machines. What that means is they do not use as much power as the competitors' equipment out there in the field, and also low water dish machines. So we do provide the lowest water using dish machines on the market. Most of our machines are using less than a gallon of water per cycle, which is pretty fantastic when it comes to water usage and conservation. And then also we have led the innovation of hard surface sanitizers and accurate dispensing systems in order to monitor those products that are being used to clean facilities. Really, our goal at Auto-Chlor system is to help these schools or these partners of ours get clean dishes, but ultimately the goal is to reduce energy costs through the low energy dish machines, as well as water cost, labor costs, and chemical costs. So we provide a cost effective program that allows our schools and our partners to reduce the 4 automatic costs that are associated with getting clean dishes. So it's always going to take, power, electrical power, energy, water, chemicals to clean, and also somebody to man that machine. Although it is an automatic process, somebody has to load and unload the dishes. So that's kind of the goal of Auto-Chlor system, and really aiming to provide an energy and cost efficient program. Um, as briefly mentioned, we service industries, 20 or more industries that we service, everything from food service and hospitality to healthcare, schools and universities. And we also do provide commercial laundry services as well. Not so much the linens themselves, but the solutions to clean the laundry. Some of our partnerships to be noted, we are the dish machine purveyor for McDonald's, Red Robin, Sweet Green, Drury Hotels are just some of the more commercial and name brands that we work with. And we also work from everything from school districts with hundreds of schools within those districts, all the way down to private charter schools with one location. So, we started out as really the mom and pop service provider, and over 85 years have really scaled to become the leader in the industry when it comes to dishwashing and cleaning chemical solutions. Uh, One thing that we really pride ourselves, we provide a service is what we do. We happen to manufacture dishwashers and cleaning chemical solutions, but we offer a system of service. So you're going to get service every 4 weeks on our equipment. And as well as that service every 4 weeks, you're going to get an emergency on-call service. So this gives operators, schools, kitchen staff peace of mind that they're always going to have somebody to take care of them, so that they can always get those trays or those dishes or those glasses washed and ready to go for students. A lot of times with these mechanical machines, things do go wrong. It's similar to a car. It does need to be repaired and maintained over time. And so we do offer those services. It's all done through a local office, a local service center, and a local team that takes care of the partners in each area spread throughout the United States. But we do offer 24/7 coast to coast service, which is really neat. Something that really separates us from anybody else out there that can just go and buy a dishwashing machine and try to service it themselves, or use maybe another food purveyor, etc. Um, and then in addition to Auto-Chlor and the service model, really the Auto-Chlor system is comprised of really six main things, and that's safety training, service, delivery of all supplies every 4 weeks, the equipment, the chemical solutions, and then beyond safety, training on operations and procedures, which I'll share a little bit more about. The Auto-Chlor system is really a full service program, whereby when that service technician is out, he's ensuring that the dishwashing machine is in fact doing what it's designed to do, that the temperatures and the sanitizer levels and the wrench pressures are providing one pass through results in order to ensure that the dishes are clean and sanitized, which is really important. It wouldn't be any good if there was a dishwashing machine that wasn't doing what it was intended to do. It could cause, horrible situations that I actually have seen in the past out in the field. We won't go there, but it's important that we are regularly maintaining the equipment to ensure that it's running, as it should. At the time of service, we're also going over warewashing procedures with the staff. When we set up, we train staff to properly wash the Ahimsa trays and the flatware, and making sure that everything is stacked in the dish racks properly to get clean. Just ensuring operational efficiency and quality and results. We do not sell our dishwashers to the end user. We actually lease our equipment, and we offer everything from under counter dishwashers that slide underneath a 3-compartment sink or in the corner, all the way up to large commercial conveyors. And as part of our program and services, we bundle things together. So we provide the dishwashing equipment, all of the cleaning solutions for the dishwasher, as well as that service every 4 weeks. It is all included in the program. So it's really an all-in-one. And something to note about, I kind of hit on it earlier, but all of our dishwashing equipment is Energy Star certified, which is very important in the kitchen equipment industry. Making sure that you receive that certificate is very important because it's all been tested to achieve certain low energy use. Beyond the dishwashing machines, which is the primary use in getting Ahimsa trays and flatwares and cups clean, we do also offer the full service cleaning solutions for 3 compartment sinks. So your soaps, your detergents and sanitizers, pre-soaks, as well as on the mop sinks and most kitchens, commercial kitchens, you'll have a mop sink with a floor cleaner, a degreaser, a surface sanitizer. We offer these products all through our patented dispensing system, of which it's no additional cost to the end user for that dispensing system. You would just pay for those additional cleaning products, a la carte, which is again maybe a little bit too much detail, but the point is here is that we are a full service system: dishwashing machines, 3 compartment sinks, mop sinks, providing light, compact, color coded applications, which is really, really important, especially in the schools and universities and all institutions that we work with. It has to be tamper proof containers and it has to be a color coded for safety. We're really trying to increase employee safety when it comes to warewashing and cleaning operations. So that's very important to us. And then we're routinely servicing the dispensing system, which controls the dilutions of those products. Beyond the system that I've just spoken on, we offer personal hygiene products. So your hand soaps and hand sanitizers, air fresheners, toilet bowl clips, urinal screens, etc., which is really neat. We try to stay really in our lane when it comes to warewashing and cleaning solutions, but we do offer a little bit to try and help be more of a one-stop shop for the schools that do choose to partner with us. Beyond the technical maintenance on the equipment and at that routine service stop, we're also providing warewashing training. So we're going over procedures, how to stack the dishes properly, how to pre-rinse the dishes properly. These are not garbage disposals; they're dishwashing machines. So there is a proper procedures that must take place in order to achieve one pass-through results, which is what we pride ourselves on. So we're doing operational training throughout the 4-week service, as well as safety training. So each product that is in the facility is always going to have a material safety data sheet attached to it with a binder that goes to the kitchen manager's office, so that everybody is aware of the proper safety and hazard communication for any of these products. We have designed a safe line of products, of which I'll talk a little bit more about in just a second. But it is important beyond what most people do to provide those MSDS sheets so that everybody knows what's in the facility, and should an accident happen, everybody's aware of how to go about resolving that. And then one other point on the training is that I am actually a National Restaurant Association ServSafe certified trainer and registered proctor. So we do offer ServSafe food safety manager training and the food protection certification exam, which is I feel very important, especially when dealing with children in schools. It's important to be equipped and to be handling and do things. So that's just another option that we do provide as far as training goes. Beyond dishwashing machines, it's more food safety as well. So that's the ServSafe. And then our commitment to go green really is, I think, something that you may be interested in. Auto-Chlor system was actually recognized as the SDSI champion for having achieved the use of only safer surfactants. I know, big words, in our products. We've documented a strategy for ensuring that going forward, only safer surfactants are used in our products. And we've developed a Safer Choice approved line of products, which is EPA Safer Choice certified, which is huge, especially in this business. It's very, very important, and we've gone the extra mile to achieve those certificates, which I think is hand in hand with the Wilton Go Green program. And what we're ultimately trying to do here is to be more conscious and safe. So safe for the people and safe for the environment is our goal. We offer a container reuse program, so we're keeping hundreds of thousands of containers, plastic containers, out of landfills every year, because we actually uh, um, pick up all of the dish machine chemical containers every 4 weeks at the time of service, and we're actually reusing those and relabeling those. So that's really, really unique to Auto-Chlor system. Beyond the low energy and water saving dish machines, we're doing that safer for the environment, Safer Choice EPA certified product line. Um, and really just, as far as Auto-Chlor system goes, we're a little bit different than anybody else that's out there, because we are family owned and operated. We are one of only two nationwide manufacturers. And I like to say, really the only service provider that's out there at this point. And so that's kind of Auto-Chlor in a nutshell. And if anybody has any questions specific to Auto-Chlor system, I'll be happy to answer those. And then we can kind of go from there. Tammy?
No, that's great. Thank you. And you answered Diane's question about the EPA green cleaning, which is wonderful. So I'm going to put one question out there while people kind of ponder and think, and just use the hand raise and I'll call on you. So you don't have to write it in the chat. You could just ask yourself, unless you're shy, then you could write it in the chat and I'll read it for you. But in my conversations with Rachel, kind of talking about Wilton and trying to get a best sense idea about, products and costs. Rachel, you had mentioned that in your work with schools, and Dr. Manasa too, you could chime in. Can you just talk a little bit more about what are the supports that you can offer to schools if they are looking at doing this? I think you mentioned some budget toolkits or some other processes to help support a school's transition.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll mention that um, our what we can offer is really based on the school's needs. So depending on where the school is, if they're using disposable or if they're already using a reuse model, we can work with them to help with next steps. With next steps for going disposable to reusable, there is a lot more to it, obviously. And so helping with those obstacles, whether it's financial obstacles, infrastructure, budget, working with some of our partners that offer grants, being able to assist with Auto-Chlor and offering their service, their leasing program is a wonderful next step. So we're really here for wherever the school may be in their process of looking to go to a safer, more sustainable, reusable Ahimsa tray. We can assist them throughout that journey.
And in terms of like financial cost analysis, carbon analysis, and waste, it's part of our program that we're really striving to ensure that as schools kind of come into the Conscious Cafeteria program, we have a national pilot that's going on right now. The enrollment's closed, which is exciting. We've got a lot of schools across the country, but what that will serve is as continued efforts to have data for schools to report back to their school boards, for nonprofits or grants to kind of report back on carbon emission savings, which can be very drastic, especially we have recycled steel. And then Auto-Chlor, one of the reasons we chose them as partners is because they're so excellent in terms of energy and water and the lack of kind of harmful chemicals. And so all of these things can be shown in terms of data, which is really important for schools too.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think I've shared with some of our group, but I will share again kind of in the recap you've sent over, the cafeteria line brochure, which has information on all your cafeteria products, which I will give again. Though, as well as the cost as well on each of those. But I don't know if you want to speak to those differently. I, was fortunate enough, we did a quick little pilot in Wilton. We can't see it with the blur. I'm gonna get the blur. where's my get rid of this blur background? You see my bedroom, but we do have some of these in our possession that I'm hoping to kind of pilot again. But these, for folks who are local and you know how to find me, if you want to see, feel, and touch one of their trays, I do have them, and I'm happy to meet up for you to see the 5-compartment tray. As well as you guys have a cool new little 3-compartment plates, and which is awesome. And I think Rachel had added, Julie's question was about weights for things. I know I'd asked the same question. And so I think in the most updated one, you had added some weights for each of the products. So
Yeah.
when that comes along, we could see the different weights.
We were
And
conscious about keeping them lightweight on purpose because they had to be
Mhm.
stacked and in the commercial use, and tried to really keep them efficient in terms of design for like autochlors, like dishwashers and like the tray stack. So making sure we were as efficient as possible kind of from start to finish. Sorry, Rachel, did you have anything else?
Oh, I was just gonna say, the weight of the tray is 0.92 pounds, if that's helpful for anyone, and it's very competitive with other reusable trays.
And it's actually lighter than some of those plastic melamine ones. You
Mhm.
don't want those in the dishwasher.
Oh, so question in the chat for Troy: in training users on the process of getting leftover food off the trays, are some of the schools using a compost system as opposed to putting uneaten food in the trash? And if so, is that part of the training you give to reinforce that practice?
Yeah, great question. Yes, I do have schools that beyond, the AutoChlor system are using a compost system, in order to dispose of those uneaten foods rather than just throwing in the trash. However, we are not specifically training on the compost system, but what we are training on is proper disposal of the food scraps off of the wares into that compost system. So yes, to an extent, we are training to properly, scrap is what we call it, scrap the plates in order to get all of the uneaten food and large debris off the plates or wares, trays, in order to be run through the dishwashing machine. So yes, but not so much on the compost system itself.
Great. Oh, there we go. For Dr. Manasa, when those trays do eventually wear out, do you take them back from schools you partner with to recycle into new products? That's a great question.
Yeah, it is a great question. So yes, so the goal is that they really last 10 or more years, hopefully. My goal, which is not most business owners' goals, is to not have an order again, because my products like last forever, and hopefully we have solved kind of the trash problem. That being said, we know that sometimes, with normal wear and tear, something even past 10 years. And that's the beautiful thing about steel. That it is infinitely recyclable. We're not long enough into our cycle yet to have a recycling program, but it's certainly on our roadmap of what we want to do. So, and then I think the other thing that people ask about is loss and, reordering. I mean, the hope is that you really are investing one time upfront for recyclable steel trays, and then having an ongoing, very incredibly reasonable monthly cost with AutoChlor in terms of dishwashers. And then, like very little replenishments from us. And I hope that we don't ever have to see you again. That's my goal.
And I'll chime in just real quickly on this, just from my experience in the dishwashing arena. Beyond Ahimsa trays, stainless steel wares last for a very long time, decades. It does last that long. And when properly handled and stored, you can get a very long life cycle out of these stainless steel trays.
Right. That's great. Thank you. And again, not just trays, but I didn't hold them up before, but you guys have utensils and also cups, which are wonderful. So there's more than just your kind of 5-compartment trays on your product line that people can take a look at. And I think what I love hearing about, I think what's helpful for a lot of us sort of having these conversations is that you are working with more and more and more schools across the country, and so that does give us bandwidth to talk to our districts about, saying that we're not the only ones trying to do this. There are other schools that are looking into doing this. I'm not going to throw you under the bus, Amber, from Rethink Disposables, but Amber and I were on a call earlier, and I might have missed the boat with the new Connecticut net zero school state law, but here comes Amber. She's coming. There she is. um, but she brought to my attention that I somehow missed that when they passed the act concerning the carbon-free school requirements for new school construction and establishing other school constructions and public health requirements for school districts that year, there's a clause for schools obtaining state grants to put in a dishwasher and have a waste management program supplied to the state if you are looking for state funding. So I will also, I think I saved it. There it is. The laws in the chat, but I will email that to everybody as well. So any new construction or renovation coming after January 1st, 2024, if you're if you're getting state funding, that is one of the requirements that they're looking for. Oh, Anne Marie, do your dishwashers dry the trays, and how long does it take to do a wash cycle?
I can answer this, but I think Troy is the expert.
Excellent questions. Yeah, I'll be happy to answer that. It's first and foremost dependent upon the model. So like as mentioned, we offer everything from an under counter low temperature dishwashing machine to high temperature and conveyors and beyond. And so it really does depend on the model. Generally speaking, on a low temperature dishwashing machine, it's going to be a 90-second cycle to wash, rinse, and sanitize that dish rack, which can house up to 20 trays if you're creative. And beyond the low temperature dishwashing machine, a standard single rack high temperature dishwashing machine is going to take 45 seconds. The difference there is that the drying time is going to be a lot less with the high temperature because it is using hot water. It's so hot that it will dry within 30 seconds of being out of the machine, versus the low temperature machine might take up to a minute, maybe a minute and a half max to dry after it exits the machine. And those are all based on a single rack dishwasher. Now, of course, if you get into the doubles and the conveyors, when you're doing much more volume, that time does go down.
Awesome. If Rachel wants to share a little bit more, but the cost side-by-side comparison, cost difference of melamine trays versus Ahimsa trays, which I think we see a lot of those polypropylene and melamine trays as the kind of go-to for reusable. But again, I also will say that finding stainless steel trays for schools was kind of hard to find before you came around. So yeah, so I don't know, Rachel, if you want to mention.
Yeah, of course. So depending, of course, on volume, melamine trays can be between $9 and $12 and go up to $22 if you're doing a lower volume. So I think the average for a higher volume for a school district would probably be around $9 to $12, give or take. And our trays are, depending on volume, $750 to $885 per tray. So I hope that helps with the cost comparison. And I'm happy to share more as well.
And I just want to piggyback off of that really quick is we did that on purpose to be competitively priced, because it's important that children get the scientifically recommended material that's better for their health. And I never wanted cost to be the issue, which is why we price competitively. And that we really try to point schools in the right direction from grants and other funding opportunities that exist, so they can make this like a no-brainer. The last thing I will say is, from a health perspective, please don't choose melamine. I implore you, it is not the scientific recommendation. Those chemicals in general are always leaching into the food the children are eating and the drinks that the children are drinking and going into their bodies. But when you expose them to heat, it exceedingly does it. So I just implore you, like, please don't choose melamine and plastic at baseline, but please don't put it in the dishwasher in terms of reuse. And ultimately it will save money, but The most important thing is it's the right thing to do for a child's growing body. To do steel, not to do modeling, to be clear.
And then just to let Diane know, yes, I'm happy to send her some links to probably the Center for Environmental Health that has the more details about the dangers of plastic and melamine. And somebody did ask a question about retrofitting a dishwasher with a dryer, and I wasn't sure if Troy wanted to answer that. I was thinking you have a rinse aid, drying agent for the chemicals, but
Yeah. So for just so that that everyone knows out there, commercial dishwashing machines do not come with a dryer. There's no such thing as a dryer as we know it, like on a residential unit. Rather, these dishwashers are using either heat or a solution throughout the process, or a combination of the two, to help it dry. And so we operate with a rinse additive that helps to shed the water so that when it does come out, it dries much quicker. And then also, as mentioned, the high temperature models do tend to dry much quicker, just because of the high heat that helps it dry that much faster. So while there's no specific dryer as we know it, there are things that are used to help with the drying. And yes, an old dishwashing machine set up properly with the right drying agents will do fine. So I'm happy to look at that on a case by case basis, but generally speaking, there are solutions that are out there that we can provide.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, and Rachel, any of those cases, if you want to share with me, I'll make sure everybody gets as well. I'll kind of create a folder. We've definitely done some webinars and work with Center for Environmental Health. They have their ditching disposables toolkit, which I've shared before in the past for many of the folks on here. And their case studies as well with dishwashers in Berkeley Unified. And I'm not sure who they're working with lately, but there are a lot of great work going on there too. If I'm not sure if anyone else has any other questions. I know Chuck also asked about the comparison to compostable trays, because there are schools that are doing food scrap collection composting programs that have moved away from the styrofoam trays and such to compostable trays. But that overall long-term cost is what kind of I would think of as what's the cost of constantly buying compostable trays versus the one. And I think
And you have to also be careful, much like recycling, not all facilities are able to compost those products. They might be able to compost food, but not those. So I just want to be, in terms of leaving you with just food for thought, no pun intended, is that I just hope everyone can be mindful on the decisions we make today in terms of long term, as opposed to short term. So whether that is about health or cost or the environment, really thinking through what's the long-term game here instead of the Band-Aid, which is the reality that we live in, and thinking really kind of, again, going more upstream.
right. Megan, you want to ask your question? You can go ahead.
Hi. My question, I think, is for Troy. I know cost is basically the thing that we're butting up against at our schools. I work with Fairfield Public Schools, and there seems to be an impression that they would need to hire a whole additional person for every cafeteria to operate the washing machine, the dishwasher. And I wondered if you felt that that was the case, or if that was like an exaggeration of how much work it was to be washing dishes daily instead of just throwing them away or composting them.
Great question. And I'll say that it all depends on volume. It all depends on the volume of students, the number of meals that are being served, and how many times a day they're serving those meals. And so if you want to, I can I'll put my email in the chat. If you want to send me some more information, specifically on the school or any particular case that you're looking at, I can do a little bit more of an analysis for you and compare it to other schools and districts with of like size and volume. Because generally speaking, it's not until you hit a certain point in volume that okay, yes, it makes sense to have somebody to man the dishwashing pit. We call it pit. Now that being said, it's actually very easy to operate our dishwashing machines. All you're doing is scrapping them, spraying them off, putting them on the rack, putting them in the machine, hitting the button, and walking away. You're coming back a minute and a half later, and it's clean and pulling it out. So it can be done in the lower to mid volume kitchens. It can be done by a already employed staff member, whereas you get to some of the larger volume schools, it makes sense financially to have somebody manning that, just to make sure that they can keep up with the volume that's coming into the kitchen. I hope that kind of helped answer your question some, but I'll go ahead and put my email in here as well.
I wanted to mention that Amber from Rethink shared in the chat that Rethink Disposable has done studies that it only takes an extra hour and a half on average to answer your question, Megan.
And the other one that we always kind of talk about is your staff, a lot of the way that the food service staff, like they might be doing other things like haulage. And especially if you're doing single use, you're hauling a lot of trash and there is time built in to haul that trash. So just in terms of time studies, like you can reallocate those resources. I'm sorry, my child is just made my chair go down. And so I think that's like another thing to think about is not just the food service staff, but also reallocation of existing resources that they already have doing different roles for the same price.
Right. Yes. And I do think it definitely, in my years of talking with different schools and different groups, it really is, there's some of it's a comfort level about where they feel like they would rather have an extra person or not. And like Troy said, some of it just depends on your volume. And so, Amber, I think if you don't mind sharing with me those links, I'm trying to compile one big email for everyone with all of these links to studies and cost comparisons so that we can just have one file for everybody to kind of take a look at everything. So they're there. Amber, do you want to add anything? The end, sorry, I started with you and then I like lost at one point.
No, I don't know that we have anything specific on the added labor, but I do have a school's cost comparison that show, like a $9 per student savings to switch from styrofoam, which is actually a comparable price to what I looked at, to compostable trays. They actually used to be quite a lot more expensive years ago, but have come down quite a bit. And so I can share that with you, as well as some of the case studies that we have for schools. And if I can find anything about that 1.5 hours, it's usually done through our our audits that we do individually. But for schools, this morning I was at Providence Public Schools, and the food manager is only expecting an extra 2 hours a day, and that's Providence Public Schools. Of course, they have 43 different schools, so they range in size from 400 to serving 17 satellite schools at 4,000 students.
Yeah, it's great.
Tammy, we're also
yeah.
but we are working on kind of I know you're getting a bunch of links. We're working on an operational guide right now that has everything in here from the dishwasher for the time study and kind of compiling all the data into one kind of booklet. So hopefully that will be helpful for this group and beyond. So as soon as that's ready, we'll be happy to share that too.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm at the end, we're at the end of our time. I just want to thank everybody for coming today. And again, I will share the recording, and once I have everybody's links and documents, I'll put it all into one email so we all have it. And for our coalition members, I usually try and keep a folder in our Google Drive so that stuff lives there as well. So Rachel, Troy, Dr. Mantravadi, thank you all so much. Amber, thanks for chiming in at the end. Thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon. So thank you. We'll all be in touch. Hopefully get lots of emails and phone calls.
Keep up the
Thank
good work,
you.
everybody. You're doing really good stuff for these kiddos. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Tammy. Bye-bye.